"By the ancestors!" shouted one guard as the beast lunged. Spears flew, but too late. The animal's claws slashed across the king's arm. Cato leapt forward, his knife flashing like a streak of light. He drove it deep into the leopard's side, twisting until the creature collapsed with a final growl. Blood soaked the earth. The forest went silent. Obalolu staggered back, clutching his right hand. A deep gash tore across his middle finger. The pain was white-hot, searing through bone and pride alike. The kingdom of Arawa lay where the red earth met the golden light. It was a land of wide rivers, tall baobab trees, and whispers that carried through the wind like spirits telling old stories. The people said Arawa was blessed, its soil rich, its cattle fat, its gods generous, and that its center stood the palace of King Obalolu, son of Odede the Mighty, ruler of men and keeper of the ancestral drums. Obalolu was a tall, proud man with eyes that gleamed like obsidian under the sun. His presence alone could still a noisy market. His warriors said that when he spoke, even lions crouched to listen. At his side, always humble, always smiling, was Cato, his personal servant. Cato was not born to wealth or royalty. He was a lean, ebony-skinned man with quiet eyes and a heart that saw deeper than the surface. What made Cato different was not his strength, but his faith. In every moment, good or bad, he would look to the heavens and say softly, "My king, do not be discouraged. God never makes mistakes." To some, it sounded like madness, to others, like wisdom. But to King Obalolu, it was both a comfort and an irritation. Cato's words had followed the king through countless seasons, through victories, festivals, and nights of storm. When the king's favorite horse died, Cato said it. When the royal cook burned the evening meal, Cato said it. When lightning struck a sacred tree near the palace, Cato said it again. "My king, do not be discouraged. God never makes mistakes." At first, Obalolu found it comforting, but as years passed, he began to feel something else, an itch beneath his pride. "How can a man look at loss and call it perfect?" the king once murmured, yet he never said it aloud to Cato. Still, he kept Cato close because, despite his simplicity, the servant had a strange way of calming storms, both in the palace and within the king's. It was on a morning thick with mist that the turning of fate began. The royal horn sounded before dawn, echoing through the valley. The king had decided to hunt. The forest of Arawa stretched wide and deep, filled with antelopes, leopards, and the occasional lion. The king loved the hunt. It reminded him that even nature bowed to him. Cato prepared the spears, polished the royal knife, and packed the dried meat. Before they set out, he bowed low. "My king, may this hunt bring glory to your name. But remember, whatever comes, God never makes mistakes." Obalolu smiled faintly. "Even if I meet a lion today?" "Even then, my king," Cato said simply. They rode out with 6 guards, their horses kicking dust into the rising sun. Drums sounded from the village as they disappeared into the forest. Hours passed. The sound of hooves faded into bird calls and whispers of wind. The forest was alive. The scent of wet leaves, the glimmer of dew, the chatter of monkeys swinging through trees. Obalolu was in his element. He felt powerful, godlike, untouchable. Then the bush rustled. From the shadows burst a wild leopard, furious and fast as lightning. "By the ancestors!" shouted one guard as the beast lunged. Spears flew, but too late. The animal's claws slashed across the king's arm. Cato leapt forward, his knife flashing like a streak of light. He drove it deep into the leopard's side, twisting until the creature collapsed with a final growl. Blood soaked the earth. The forest went silent. Obalolu staggered back, clutching his right hand. A deep gash tore across his middle finger. The pain was white-hot, searing through bone and pride alike. "Your Majesty!" Cato cried. "Let me bind it, quickly!" They wrapped it with bark and cloth, but the wound festered by evening. By the time they returned to the palace, fever had set in. The royal physician examined the hand, shaking his head. "My king, the finger must go. If we delay, the rot will spread." Obalolu's eyes blazed. "Cut off my finger? Never!" But by midnight, the pain was unbearable. The king, trembling and sweating, gave in. The physician worked in silence, and when it was done, a single finger lay upon the royal mat, severed from its master. The king stared at the stump, feeling a cold emptiness crawl through him. He had fought lions, led armies, conquered villages, yet now a single finger had been taken from him, and it felt like the gods had mocked his power. Cato stood by quietly, his eyes wet. "My king," he whispered, "do not be discouraged. God never makes mistakes." The king turned slowly, fury in his eyes. "Never makes mistakes?" he thundered. "Look at me, Cato, a king missing a finger, mocked by his own body. If your God was so good, would he allow this shame?" Cato bowed his head. "Despite all these things, my king, I can only say that God is good, and everything he does is perfect." That was the moment something snapped in Obalolu. "Enough!" he roared. "I am tired of your foolish words. Guards, take this man away. Throw him into the palace prison. Let him meditate there on God's perfection." Cato was seized. As they dragged him away, he turned his calm face toward the king one last time and said, "God is good, my king, and he is never wrong." The palace doors closed behind him, and silence followed. Weeks passed. The king's wound healed, but the bitterness in his heart deepened. He no longer invited laughter into his court. Music felt hollow, wine tasted like dust. To prove that he was still strong, he decided one morning to hunt again. Alone this time.
"Your Majesty," warned his guards, "the forest is dangerous without escort." "Danger is for the weak," Obalolu said, mounting his horse. "I have fought worse than beasts." He rode into the wild as dawn broke, the earth steaming with dew. The deeper he went, the more the forest seemed alive with hidden eyes. He hunted for hours, killing 2 antelopes, and felt a strange satisfaction return until he saw movement at the edge of the trees. But it was not an animal. Men. 10 of them, painted in white clay and red dye, emerged from the shadows. They carried spears and wore necklaces of bone. Their leader, a tall savage with scarred cheeks, grinned. "Look," he said in a thick accent, "the gods have brought us a prize, a man of gold and power." Obalolu reached for his knife, but one blow from behind sent him sprawling. They bound his hands and dragged him toward their village deep in the jungle. He had been captured by the tribe of Ntamba, known across the valleys for one thing: human sacrifice. Their belief was simple. Every harvest, the gods demanded a complete man, a body untouched, without blemish, to offer to the sacred flames. Only then, they believed, would rain fall and crops flourish. Obalolu was thrown into a hut, his crown torn away, his body bruised. He struggled, shouted, cursed, but no one came. By the next morning, drums began to beat, a slow, thunderous rhythm that seemed to shake the ground itself. Fires lit the village center, casting red light upon carved totems and idols. The king was dragged to the altar, a flat stone streaked with blood and ash. The high priest, covered in feathers, stepped forward. "This man will please the gods. He is strong and proud. Let his blood open the heavens." Obalalu's heart pounded. He thought of his palace, his warriors, his people. Kato's calm face whispering, "God never makes mistakes." The priest raised his hand to begin the ritual. Then suddenly, he froze. His sharp eyes scanned the king's hand. "Wait," he hissed. "Something is wrong." The crowd murmured. The priest grabbed the king's right hand and held it high. "He is not complete," he said. "One finger is missing." Gasps rippled through the tribe. The villagers began to step back in fear. "The gods will not accept an incomplete man. To offer him would anger them. Release him at once." Obalalu could hardly breathe. Two men cut his ropes. He fell to the ground, trembling as the drums fell silent. The high priest spat beside him. "You are cursed, fingerless man. Leave this place and never return." The king stumbled into the forest, half crawling, half running, until the night swallowed the village behind him. He collapsed near a stream, weeping, not out of fear, but realization. He understood now. The missing finger, the very thing he had cursed, had just saved his life. When the king returned to Arawa, the sun was rising over the hills. He rode through the gates, dusty, wounded, but alive. The palace guards rushed to meet him, crying out in astonishment, "My king, we thought you were lost!" Obalalu dismounted, silent. His eyes were distant, as though he had seen the face of fate itself. He walked straight to the prison yard. When Kato saw him, he rose from the corner of his cell and bowed. His face was thin, but his smile was unchanged. The king unlocked the gate himself. "Come, my friend," he said softly. "Your king owes you an apology." They walked together to the royal garden, where sunlight streamed through palm leaves. Birds sang, and for the first time in many moons, the king felt peace in the air. "Kato," Obalalu began, "I was wrong. I doubted your words. I was angry with you. But now I see. God was truly good to me. I was captured by savages, men who would have killed me. But when they saw my missing finger, they freed me, saying I was not complete. For this I live." He paused, tears welling in his eyes. "But I have one question, my friend. If God is so good and perfect, why did he allow me to put you in prison?" Kato smiled gently. His eyes, calm and wise, met the king's. "My king," he said softly, "if I had not been in prison, I would have gone with you on that hunt. And because I have no missing finger, I would have been offered in your place. So you see, my imprisonment too was part of his perfection." The king's lips trembled. For a moment he could not speak. Then he bowed his head, a king bowing to a servant, and said, "Truly, Kato, God never makes mistakes." Word of what happened spread through Arawa like wildfire. Storytellers carried it to every corner of the land. In the markets, women recited it between sales. In the fields, farmers whispered it under the sun. In the evenings, children sat around fires while elders told the tale of the king who lost a finger but found wisdom. And every retelling ended the same way. "Do not be discouraged, my child. God never makes mistakes." But the story did not end there. Years later, King Obalalu grew old.
His hair turned gray and his steps slowed, but his wisdom deepened. He ruled with humility and faith, no longer quick to anger, no longer obsessed with perfection. The loss of his finger had become his greatest teacher. Every year, during the festival of gratitude, he would raise his hand before the crowd, showing the missing finger proudly, and declare, "This is the mark of God's perfection. When you see loss, do not curse it. When you feel pain, do not despair, for even in suffering there is design." Cato remained by his side until the end of his days. The king built him a house near the palace and called him "my brother of faith." And when Cato passed away peacefully one night, the king ordered that his words be carved upon stone for all generations. God is good, and everything he does is perfect. He is never wrong. That stone still stands, at least so the old people say, in the land of Arawa, half buried beneath moss and thyme. Travelers who pass it pause to touch the carving, whispering the ancient words that have outlived kings and kingdoms alike. Do not be discouraged. God never makes mistakes.